So, I mean, this is obviously an overstated look into this world, but I was wondering actually how much research was required to try and actually get a sort of semblance of realism into this world that is sort of entrenched in secrecy.
I think we did quite a lot of research, actually. I think one of the things that we found was some of the more specific things about GCHQ could be if we'd have put them in the show, could have been perceived as if we'd sort of created those ideas just to make jokes, like they've got a choir and they do like bake sales and things like that. But we didn't want to kind of overload it with too many sort of things that feel that they're sort of non sequiturs in terms of the world of sort of national security. But I think the truth is it's like any sort of dynamic office environment, and they have all those sort of normal things that any workplace might have, but obviously the backdrop is pretty high stakes.
There was that part of like the fun when we're making this, was this idea that they are just like us. You know, they have Christmas parties, they might talk about Love Island on a Monday morning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And David, I've always felt that your comedic sort of sensibilities have aligned themselves quite well with the British sense of humour. And I was just wondering, I mean, so it's obviously no surprise to see you in a show like this, but did you grow up as a big fan of sort of British comedy when you were younger?
For sure. I mean, I think I consumed as much comedy from all over the world as possible, but a lot of British comedy. I mean, starting from even Benny Hill, even Fawlty Towers, and all of Monty Python. I've seen everything. Just a massive fan. So yeah, I grew up with it, and Peter Sellers is one of my, I just love him as an actor. So yeah, I've always loved it, and a lot of American comedy. So for me, sure, I'm a fan of the original Office, but also predating that, shows like Taxi and Cheers, these workplace comedies with just wonderfully drawn characters, that combination of incredible character-driven comedy, situation comedy, great dialogue, but also a lot of great physical comedy. So I guess my influences are from, obviously a combo platter, but I love British comedy.
This is very much its own thing, and I think it feels very original. But how much do you think we have to thank sort of people like Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant for making the mundane give it sort of comedic potential? Because when The Office sort of came out, it really made this kind of everyday life seem like there's a lot of subtle humour to it. I mean, how much was he an inspiration on this sort of show?
Big inspiration for me. I mean, I was a student when The Office, still at school actually, when The Office first came out, and I remember at the time when it affected how people spoke. It was so kind of, it was so kind of powerful in it, sort of that sort of particular sort of style of naturalism, I guess, and kind of capturing that in that way. So yeah, it was influential to a degree. I think that obviously we're not kind of a mock documentary, and so there is obviously an element of naturalism to the show, but I think you can tell it's quite a heightened environment, because obviously I guess the gag rate, it goes a bit sillier than say at least the British Office does. But yeah, I love that sort of style of performance. I've always liked.
Because your characters obviously plays like the American in a very British environment. Was it quite easy to draw on some parallels from the real world, being the kind of only American in an all British cast?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were always tickled by the idea of this kind of big, brash American coming, like the fish out of water, right? So, and trying to capitalize on the cultural differences and also just the behavioral differences. I'm the American. I'm the kind of guy who, I'm very physical, this kind of character. So he has no problem like invading other people's personal space.
Yeah, very tactile.
There are no boundaries. Whereas the Brits, traditionally speaking, are a little more physically reserved. They keep to their own space. My guy invades everyone's space. And so I think that's a particularly American thing.
Yeah, because he's one of those people that sort of says what he feels. And I think so there's a little part of us that all wishes we were a bit like that, but because of like social constructs, we all have to sort of rein it in. But was it quite fun exercising that part of that? I think that lives within all of us, that kind of part of us that just we walk in. I think the first thing you say to your characters, do you have dwarfism? Yeah. And I mean, because sometimes there are things that we might think, but we would never say, but he just does it.
He's got zero filters, I think, as Jerry a little bit.
Yeah, he's a fun and cathartic character to play, this kind of a guy. Yeah.
But having said that, he's a decent bloke, isn't he? I mean, there is a lot for you to sort of there's a lot of humanity to grab onto as well.
Well, we're hoping that both these guys, you can kind of sense their humanity and this kind of bromance that's developing between the two of them. There is a need an emotional need that the other fills, that hopefully over time in series you'll come to really want these two to be together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, the two of you have a great sort of chemistry on screen. I was just wondering about how you guys first came to know each other, and if it felt like there was an instant kind of creative spark
I think
between
that's
you.
true, actually. That there was certainly on my part.
Yeah.
I'd worked on Julia Davis and I had written a pilot for Channel 4, which we shot, and then Sony Studios, who were going to distribute it in the States, it never went to series, the show, but David ended up seeing it, had really enjoyed the show, and so called us up, and basically we did a few days of just workshopping and just sort of developing ideas for that show. And we obviously improvised as part of that, and we just got on really well. We liked the kind of the sort of the difference in sort of status. That we found that a really interesting area for him to play quite alpha, and for me to play quite sort of, kind of a bit more. What's the word? Just a bit more introverted, I guess. And yeah, we just sort of hit it off from then. And so when I then had this idea about doing a workplace sitcom with national security as a backdrop, I think, I sent the idea, like the one-page treatment or something, to David pretty much from the off, and he really liked the idea, and so we just took it from there. I mean, it's been collaborative sort of throughout, really.
And although it is obviously a comedy, have you had any kind of feedback from GCHQ at all? Because I mean, obviously, it's you hear about films that sort of tap into the FBI or the sort of CIA, and they do get people saying, sort of wanting to get in touch and stuff. I just wonder if you've had any communication with them since this has been.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they're obviously aware, because there's a press release when the show was announced and so on. So they're obviously aware, and they're I think they're excited to see it. I believe.
We hope they are.
I hope they are.
I hope they are. I mean, listen, it was really important to us, and I think they just wanted to make sure we weren't going to be making fun of the work they actually do day in and day out to protect this country and others. And we don't. I mean, we wanted to make sure that while we're playing characters that are occasionally inept and irresponsible and reckless, that you always get a sense that the other people at GCHQ are actually doing really well, doing good, solid work, and that it's no laughing matter. So I think we found a really nice balance to protect the integrity and reputation of the institution, and we do treat it with respect, and at the same time poke fun of the people who these specific individuals who work there.
Yeah, but we're all a little bit inept, really, aren't we, in real life?
Yeah. Well, I am.
No?
Absolutely not.
And on that note, thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey,